Hey guys, it's Marianne from Thrive and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be introducing you to 6 of the key terms or definitions that you need to be comfortable and confident with when you are working with Microsoft Power Automate. By understanding what these terms mean, it's going to help you create flows in a more sequential and organized way without as much concern or panic. So let's jump in and get comfortable with these terms so that when you start building your automations, whether you're brand new or this is a refresher for you, you're doing it from a place of confidence with some really solid understanding. Let's jump in. So for our definitions, I am going to be using this flow that I have in my own account, and it is an approval of a leave request is the example we've got here, but all of the elements and definitions that I want to cover with you are here, so it seemed like a really good example to use. So the first definition that we want to look at is action, and an action is a doing word, okay? It's a doing step. In Power Automate, it's a specific task or operation that occurs within the flow. So it could be the sending an email, it could be moving a file, it could be updating an item, it could be the approval process here. Each thing is an action. It's a step in the flow, and you need actions to make an automation work. So we must always have an action at some stage in our flow. The next definition we're going to talk about is an approval. And that's what this action is here. Now, an approval is a decision point in your flow. It's a decision-making step. It's where a request is sent to one or more people to review and make a decision. Now, for example, in this example on the screen, we've got an approval request here, and it's based on a leave request going in. So the approval goes to someone who then makes a decision to accept or reject that request. Another example might be approving an expense report or a budget request or a travel request. It could be a recruitment issue. It could be social media content approvals, all sorts of reasons that you may in your own workflow need to get or give approval for items within your team. Power Automate makes this easier by bundling all of the parts of the approval process together so that you can perform all of those steps automatically and nominate the correct people and make sure that they get notified and that you can track these things without having to manually do the emails backwards and forwards. Now, in some of your automations, what you might want to do is create a branched or a condition. So the term or the definition condition inside Power Automate is the logic that we're asking Power Automate to do to determine which path and next action it will take. It's that choose your own adventure moment. We talk about it sometimes in terms of conditional logic. We talk about it as branching, but it's where the flow meets a certain point and it puts the information through a filter and it produces a result that is either true or false. What that means is that we set the rule around what we're looking for, and if it meets that criteria, it is true and it will follow this path. If it runs that filter and it does not meet the condition we set, it follows this path. And these tasks, in this example, they are the same sorts of things, but the content is different. However, they could follow completely different paths. It could just stop if it's not correct, and it might have 4 or 5 additional actions if it is, or vice versa. This is what allows you to create a smart and dynamic workflow without having to run lots of separate workflows on the same item. So you can start from a single point and move things along and have different outcomes depending on the different filters that you apply. So, for instance, an example of a condition might be checking an email to see if the subject contains the word invoice. If it does, the flow would move down this side, and it might then forward it to the bookkeeper or the accounts department and move it into a folder called invoices in your inbox. If it doesn't, it would just stop and cease doing anything, or it might then run another filter to look for something else. So it gives you that control over what happens to something without worrying about things going into the wrong buckets or things going to the wrong people. Connectors are a really important part of a Power Automate flow, and understanding the definition relating specifically to Power Automate will make life much easier. A connector is like the translator. It's the translator between the different apps and services that Power Automate uses to make a flow work. So it might connect Dropbox with Outlook or MailChimp with Excel. It handles all that technical bridging between different programs and different systems to make the workflow work so that you don't have to be a coder to make it happen. So in our example here, we're using SharePoint, we're using Office 365, we are using an approvals process, and we are using our emails Outlook. And the flow, the connectors are SharePoint, approvals, and Outlook. And Power Automate asks me to sign into each of my accounts when I set it up so that I've given it authorization to connect these pieces together. The joy of the connectors is that can be, in this example, it's all within the Microsoft space. But as you'll see when we talk about templates, we can do that with things outside Microsoft as well. So Google accounts, MailChimp, Dropbox, Google Drive, Vimeo, SurveyMonkey, Twitter or X, all of those tools that you can link and connect by having an account and giving Power Automate the authorization to talk to them and bridge that system gap so that you can make things move from one to the other with ease. And the next definition is split into two. It's flow and flow run. Now, a flow is that full process from start to finish. So it's everything you see on the screen. This is the first part and this is where it ends. So the entire process together, all of the actions, all of the conditions, all of the elements makes a flow. From the time we trigger it, which we'll talk about as a separate definition, from the time we trigger the flow to completion, that's the flow. A flow run is each instance of that process running. So it lets you track your flow runs in Power Automate so you can see what succeeded, what failed, and where you might need to make tweaks. But a flow run is each instance that it runs. So in this example, where it's a leave request, each flow run is a separate request for leave. The process is the same. The flow itself is the same for every request that comes in, but each specific request where we run it through, it needs to be approved, and then it is either approved or rejected. Those are unique and will have different comments, different dates, come from different staff, and each one of those is a flow run. The next one I want to talk to you about is a trigger. Now, every automation, and this is the same not just for Power Automate, but for any other program you use with automation, there needs to be a trigger. So we need to talk about this in terms of, it's the same concept when we talk about things like Zapier and Integromat and all of those other tools as well. There is always a trigger. The trigger is what starts your flow. It's the condition or the rule or the action that happens that sets things off. Even within Microsoft itself, if we talk about Microsoft Outlook rules, which are an automation, we always have a trigger. We always have a thing that has to happen to make the system go, oh, this looks like the right thing I'm looking for. I need to do something about this. It's that starting pistol. It's the firing of the actions. So in this instance, it is when something is created. And in this specific instance, it's when someone lodges a request for leave via the tracking list that we have. It could be an email arriving in an inbox. It could be a line being added to a spreadsheet. It could be a form being submitted. It could be a keyword or being added on a particular program. It could be a message arriving in Teams, or a file being uploaded into SharePoint or into OneDrive. So it's an action that happens external to the flow. Your flow and your process here in Power Automate is always searching and it's scanning to see when that happens. And the moment it does, it will run the flow. So think about when you're considering building a flow and you're looking at an automation, think about what is the point at which you want to start this process. Is it an email landing? Is it something being added to a table or a spreadsheet or a particular folder on OneDrive or SharePoint? Think about what is the physical action that someone will do that you would normally then have to run in and chase up. That's the trigger, and it's the starting point for all of the automation that will happen afterwards. Last but not least, I want to talk to you about templates. Now, like with any of the other programs within Microsoft and other automation tools, the templates are those pre-built flows to give you a leg up when you're getting started with your automations. Whether you need to integrate with apps inside Microsoft or outside, there are some really great pre-built flows, and you can see here they've been built by Microsoft themselves or they've been built by the Power Automate community. This list there's a template section in the sidebar, so it's really easy to access. This space grows all the time. It is being added to constantly, and it's been broken down into lots of different formats. The templates do all the hard work for you. They've built the connections, they've figured out the flow and the sequence, all of the conditions, all of the different steps that might happen, and it's figured out which programs need to talk to each other in what order. So you can simply plug in your logins so that it connects and choose which files, folders, or specific conditions you want to apply. They're still fully editable, but they're a really, really great way to get started when you have a very simple flow you want to create and you're not entirely sure how to put it together in the right order. So there you have it, some of the key definitions and terms that you need to be familiar with so that you can work in Power Automate and create your own automations with confidence. I hope that this has helped you understand a little bit more about what this program is about and given you the confidence to be able to jump in and at least have a look and see if there's something in there that could make your life a little bit easier. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of new videos so that you can stay up to date with all the latest Microsoft 365 tips. Share this video with someone you think could benefit from a little automation in their life, and I will see you again really soon.